An Australia without rugby league is not Australia. Rugby league has been a fabric of our society for hundreds of years. It's people's escape, it's people's relaxation, and we need to do everything in order to continue that great tradition of rugby league.
It has been those Australians who have worked hard every day. They have their dreams, they have their aspirations. These are the quiet Australians who have won a great victory tonight.
Dreams and aspirations, Kris and Denis. I asked you, what sort of intro is that for a round in resumption year where your team lost, the West Tigers, your team, Canberra, lost, Pat's team over there in the background, South lost, and my team just barely lost, St George Dragons. And here we are.
Surrendered, I think is the word, Steve.
Surrendered in battle. I'm dressed in grey appropriately enough. And look, when I saw Mary McGregor the other night, it was like a funeral march in the background. You know, I thought the tears were coming, and I thought the boys around 360 were just probably sniggering while they said he manned up, he faced the music. I'm thinking, what sort of music was he facing?
Well, you asked me, you texted me and said, you know, who's the band? And I said, I looked at Kent, Rothfield, Hooper, and Icon, and I said, the Small Faces.
Right, yeah. Or the Eagles got old. Now, they still kept their hair, didn't they? The Eagles. Well, they cut their hair off.
Well, it certainly wasn't ABBA. I wasn't thinking of ABBA.
No, it wasn't ABBA. Okay. Anyway, there was nothing hopeful, nothing dreamlike, nothing aspirational about that weekend for me. That was a dud weekend.
I did think that James Graham he was channeling Bono.
The pirate.
He's taken up the Bono position, one knee down, one knee up.
Oh, wasn't the Colin
He was about to sing Bloody Sunday.
No, I thought it was he was just late to the protest, taking one knee. But it actually, on retrospect, when he was interviewed, he really looked like a car crash victim. He was confused, disoriented, had no idea what he was.
And all he could say was, Rangers support Black Lives. Right?
But he did remember it's a hard game. And that kind of says it all, doesn't it? That's sort of the get out of jail. But he looked like he was about to vomit.
How old do you think he is? I don't know. How old is James Graham?
He's 47.
No, come on, seriously.
If I'm 58, I reckon 47 is about right.
No, he's allowed to play after that. Come on,
33, 34?
Yeah.
Would be my guess.
Yeah.
Well, I think
Google.
I think Lucifer's the oldest player still, Smith.
Which brings me on my next question, fellows. Braith and Astor, I mean, everybody's applauding the coverage of Fox Sport. I know you are, and you are, Denis, and what a dream team they've got around that table. And then beyond that dream team, Braith and Astor claimed that St George had lost not just their DNA, but their soul.
Their soul, their eternal soul.
That threw me back. I thought to myself,
can I say that, I mean, symbols are important in life. I think we can all agree with that. And your once proud club was emblematic and symptomatic with the classic red V jumper.
This club is emblematic.
That's right.
It's symptomatic.
Exactly. And
can you make that into a song, Denis, please?
See if I can.
And seriously, it's now South, but I used to hate St George the most.
Yes, the most.
And I had a focus for my hate, and it was that jumper because it meant something. And it apparently back in the last century, and I mean last century, was synonymous with success.
I'm not going to say it.
What are you doing in the block red? And it's not Steelers colours. It's some sort of commercial bank colour.
Yeah, some in the back office, you think, is trying to rev up the team a little bit by giving them a satin pants and a satin jacket with a vague white stripe.
I've been given this theory a few times that when you're trying out, when you're going to trials, I was given this in hockey by my Rusty, my brother-in-law, who's a big hockey player, said when you go to the trials to try and get into first grade, wear a red shirt because the coach notices a red shirt more. Yep. Red shirts historically, referees favour red shirts. There's a lot of this, Man U, they go red. They like the red shirts.
Tell that to Andy Perinara then, will you?
Red shirts apparently do better in sport. So they've gone, let's go the whole red outfit, the whole socks, the shorts. Didn't work.
No, and I'm assuming that the breadth of knowledge that Braith and Astor has about metaphysics, religion, spirituality, your souls, would go as far as to saying, once you take the red V off, you have lost your DNA and your soul. Full stop.
He's a great student of the classics.
Is he?
And
we're talking before Jesus?
Well,
the Gospels coming
No,
down.
the actual classics, as in fourth century Athenian.
Yeah.
That's the classic
they're
era. Then there's
the
a
Greeks.
renaissance of classical, but the classic era is 4th century Athens, and this Plato, Aristotle.
Yeah, the
That's
Iliad,
what
the
he
Odyssey,
likes.
that
Yeah,
sort
that's-
of
that's the
caper.
It's the
stuff.
Greek thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean,
they're running out. They're taking over league. The
And
Greeks.
Anasta, doesn't Anasta? No, it means
And
duck
Astopo-
in.
and that is
Anasta's Greek, surely.
Anastopoulos.
Surely.
Yeah.
And if Cameron Smith can be described as Faustian, I think there's something Faustian going on here. That Mary McGregor,
Oh, hang on. Didn't Faust make a pact with the devil?
right? But
I don't believe.
what
he's
did
made
he
a
sell?
Pact with the devil.
What did he sell?
So you're saying that the dragons are Faust and they've sold their soul to Cam Smith?
No, I'm
What does
s-
Cam Smith have over the Dragons anyway?
Right.
You're not
well,
saying that.
My theory is that something went. Mary famously ran that cleaning business, and I actually don't need to coach because I'm a successful entrepreneur, right? And like so many Australian entrepreneurs, something's gone wrong, right? And he's basically sold the soul of his team in order for the devil to bail him
Look what
out.
happened to Christopher Scaife, Alan Bond.
That's right.
Hey.
Yeah. So he's going down that route, and,
Well,
and
there have been suggestions that Bellamy, once Cam Smith retires, going to the Dragons. There has been that suggestion.
there's that narrative. And I mean, as we broadcast this afternoon, or podcast this afternoon to be accurate, Mary fronted up to an emergency meeting of the St George Illawarra board and kept his job. Now,
With no explanation.
no, now, normally when the board calls an emergency meeting, there's generally an emergency, and,
And
zero
a resolution.
right, 0 and 4 and 222 versus the Dogs is an emergency in my view, Dennis. But
Stephen,
what happens when he walks
long,
in?
How long since the Dragons have had a win, Stephen?
I don't want to think about it.
I can tell you.
You can't get it.
It's 17 games.
17
They've had
games.
2 wins in 17 games.
And we know who they're
And
against.
they were both the
Titans.
Titans.
Well, there's nothing wrong with losing to the Titans, I can
And
tell you
guess
that.
who they've got this week?
The Titans.
Oh, they got the Sharks. I thought they had the
No, I
Sharks.
think it's the Sharks this week.
I think it's the Sharks.
Is it? Oh, it's the
So
Sharks.
my
I
question,
think-
my question is,
Imagine that. Imagine
when you
losing to the
steal
Sharks.
someone's soul, I'm sure you can bottle it.
I think he has, and I think that when he's gone
The
to the
Dementor
board
Wars.
meeting, that all the good burgers at St George are there to say, Mary, it's been beautiful, you've got to go, and he walks in with his representative,
Yes.
i.e. Cameron Smith.
Cameron Smith.
And
Yeah.
he says,
Who was reeking of sulphur.
you gentlemen have lost the soul of your club. Shall we move on to your good selves? And they've gone, Mary,
Don't take our souls.
can we extend the contract? Is that possible? That's what I think's going on
That's
here.
the Faustian contract
Yeah.
to play. He put out a piece of paper and said, say yes.
And it's fair to say, Mary, in his post-match interview with the Small Faces, you wouldn't call him engaged. In the interview, he looked somewhat distant. He was always sort of looking off into the distance because that's what's happened. He's dealing in the metaphysical now.
He's
I think.
gone to the crossroads.
Yeah, he has, like Robert Johnson style.
Robert Johnson.
100%.
Wow.
Yeah.
But he said he's not
Can
a
he
quitter.
play guitar? Is Mary
Of
trained?
course.
Can he
Yeah.
play some nice licks? Do you think maybe after he's passed on, some
Puts
tapes
that
will
wig
come
on.
out?
He's good to go. What he said? He's
Right
not,
now, people argue right now he's Jose Feliciano. That's right, in terms of his ability to read the game, but that'd be unfair on Jose.
Stevie Wonder. So and that is it's dire situation. But what's the answer, Chris? You're the genius here. You're the polymath. Come up with something. Is it Phil Gould? What does he know?
Well, of course, Gus was last night quizzed extensively on the unpaid review he did by Danny Wilder of the St George Illawarra Club, and he refuses to discuss it, right?
Yes.
Because he doesn't want in any way to be associated with the disaster. So I'd say what was in the review were things like, yes, keep Mary as your coach. Yes, play in those block red jerseys. And all the things that are going wrong. Yes, don't kick on the last tackle for fear of a 7-tackle restart. And if Gus lets any of that leak into the media, he'll be held responsible. And his reputation, which is
I guess,
elevated.
I guess there's evidence because he said just blow the whole place up. It's the only way to fix it.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, reverse merger
Yeah.
with Cronulla.
Yeah. You think so?
Cronulla Dragons.
Well, as Chuck D once said, how low can you go, Chris? There's no lower, surely. That is lower, though. I never
They could
imagined
just-
that.
they
I
could-
never even, haven't even thought of that.
Maybe they're trying to just expand the Sharks. Just
Because
ditch the-
Cronulla said,
ditch the Dragons altogether.
there's going to be 4
ditch the-
mini bank West. We're not going to be there.
Imagine that. Imagine if this Sunday, the 14th of June, they put a deal on the table and the Sharks said, whoever wins this game wins the southeast of Sydney,
franchise.
the Illawarra.
All the marbles.
Whoever wins,
That's
gets this
Faustian.
one.
That is evil, Dennis. You are just
Then
no
Cam
good
Smith
at all.
will come up and play for the Sharks.
I'm going to start pushing for a second team in Canberra.
They've got
Queen
one called the
Bian,
Brumbies
right?
that
Yeah, where the
does.
fireworks used to be.
Yes. No, that was Fishwick.
Rightio. Now, talking of, as I
The
said...
Fishwick fireworks. They're talking about the South Queensland Firehawks. How about the Fishwick
fireworks,
fireworks?
yeah.
Did you see that discussion about the second Brisbane team and the proposal for Firehawks?
Well, I'm about talking about Brisbane.
Right.
Would you
Okay.
like to-
Well, why not? Well, we'll start
Tell
with the
you
Firehawks
what,
discussion.
I used to make the joke in Rugby League the musical about the fact that Johnny Grant called them the Cronulla Sutherland Hawks.
Yeah.
And I made the joke that it's because they're trying to get rid of the Sharks, put a second team in Queensland, call them the Hawks.
Yeah.
Like the Hawthorn Hawks. I was on the money.
Yes.
They're trying to make the South Queensland Hawks.
So there were 4 bids in for a second Brisbane team, right? You know, one of them, the Bombers. I mean, seriously, but
The Brisbane Bombers.
But the NRL Economist,
Isn't
who's
there a
doing-
Bears as well?
doing a podcast with our friend Albie Tallarico called The Front Office, wrote an article about the Brisbane Firehawks. Now on NRL 360, which let's face it is compelling viewing, they were discussing this, and James Hooper goes, "Who is this imbecile, the NRL Economist?" Right? And Kenny pipes up and says, "No, he's not proposing it." And Ben Eichen, he's reporting it. And Kenny then gave quite a dissertation on what a firehawk is. It's an indigenous bird in the north of Queensland,
Is
or in
that-
Queensland. That's right.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. No. So it's a real bird. Unfortunately, on the same night, Kenny also said Manly won their first premiership in 1951.
Get that wrong?
Yeah, got that completely wrong. And referencing the great Jack Gibson on the occasion of Parramatta's first premiership in 1981, looking forward to the Parramatta-Manly game, he said, Jack Gibson, who famously said, on winning the first premiership, King Kong, the witch is dead. Which is not the way I remember the line.
So
From the
if,
sound of it, from
if you
Blues of
lose 22-2 and you've lost your DNA and your soul, what does it mean if you lose 59-0?
If you, I mean,
What's left? What's left?
Well, you're just down to neutrons and
Neutrons,
protons and
cells
electrons.
and no DNA.
No,
Just
they've
strip
been
the whole
separated.
lot.
You've just been melted
Yeah.
into you're in the furnace in the middle of the
So,
sun.
so you've actually climbed back into the primordial
Yeah.
slime.
Yeah.
Right. Well, we were discussing that mid-game, of course, they could see the writing on the wall. They knew they were going down big time, and they got their PR merchants into play to write the spin during the game so that by the time anybody walked out of the game, the journalists had something in their hands or on their laptops or their phones saying, this is why we lost. This is how you should write it. Correct?
I suspect that they've spent the last 8 weeks of isolation prior to resumption. They're just like, we're just a bunch of duds.
Right.
Let's instead, we've got no chance on the footy field. Let's win the media. Let's write some really good press
Yes.
about why we suck.
Yeah, and look,
Yes.
and I think what you're tapping in here, Stephen, is
Yeah.
if you actually look at the Broncos as an institution,
Yeah.
their success is completely tied to the existence of one man, Wayne Bennett.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
They're no
Founder.
good. They're no good without him. And like, if 2GB eventually has to get rid of Alan Jones because he's not going to last forever, thank
Yeah.
God, and bring in Ben Fordham, I think, are you suggesting that this is it for the Broncos and that the 4 bids are not a second Brisbane team, but just a Brisbane team
Just
or the Brisbane team?
Brisbane team.
Because it's got so bad that
Yeah.
during the game, supposedly, the Broncos circulated a media release that highlighted the following.
Yeah.
Brisbane had 990 games between all 17 players compared to the Roosters' 2,115. So that seems like a huge gap until you take the Morris boys into account because the 2 of them have played 1,000.
And yet you say
between them.
James Graham's gassed, you know,
Yeah.
and many of the older, and it's a
He's
young
34.
man's game. We need
Born
some
in
new,
1985.
new
He's
blood.
34.
34.
Yeah.
So he's 1 year older than the Morris kiddies. What have they got that he hasn't got?
Well, they've got a new lease of life, I was just mentioning before, because they've ditched the Dragons, the
Yeah.
Sharks and Bulldogs. They've got
Yes.
a new lease of life.
They're running from failure.
They've got, no, they're not running from failure. They're embraced by the loving arms of the bad golfer Nick Politis, and they've turned up on unders.
He's
and
a terrible golfer, apparently.
Shocking goal.
Apparently. No, he gets him in the sand all the time, you know.
all the time. But that's why they're
Always
so
takes
happy.
a packed lunch, though.
Well, it's James
Right.
Graham.
Always has a packed lunch. Several brown packed lunches. But so... And
That's
Seabold-
Mrs. Politis,
That's right. That's right. You got to eat.
Hello, Mrs. Politis, and your family and friends and everybody. We love you.
Indeed, love the Politises.
And your kids and your grandkids and everybody else.
I'd love a Ford, actually. Wouldn't you love it? Anyway.
I'd love a Ford.
You know,
Mustang.
seeing as you've ignored it, I'm going to say it. Todd, Lisa, all the Greenberg family.
Come on.
We
At very
still
best.
love you,
Yeah.
despite the fact you're no
We
longer
haven't
with rugby
forgotten
league. In
you.
fact, we love you even more.
Come on. He's down and out. Don't kick him.
I'm not kicking him.
That
love time.
Can I
Seabold.
just go ring a bell and say we have gone bing, 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 14 minutes without talking about Peter Volandis.
I thought you were saying, bing, 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 set restart. We're going again. Been holding on to that for too long.
But
They run out of cats.
But how do you argue with this? Seabold goes, oh, well, look, in 2016, the Roosters were walloped 46-0 by Melbourne, right? And he goes, I remember them talking about having 7 players under 40 games on that particular day. Well, we had 10 players under 30 tonight, and we had 2 making their debut. They got rid of all their veterans, and he's actually put more Harvard-like research into the reasons why they're not winning.
yeah.
I mean, we are basically dancing on the carcass of the once proud Brisbane Broncos. They've gone to the glue factory.
Yeah.
It's time for the Firehawks.
I am
So-
straight up for. I've just looked on the Australian Geographic. I actually do know about fire hawks. There's 3 species of hawks, which they use
a
fire
good
to round
name.
up prey. They
Yes.
use fire. It's an
Yeah.
Aboriginal name for them. It's
Weren't
the
you
whistling
watching
kite.
Kenny? He was telling this.
No, the whistling kite, the black kite, and the brown falcon. Is it?
What's that? You know, isn't there a firehawk that in the famous film?
That's
You
the
know,
phoenix. There's the phoenix.
The fire phoenix.
So the phoenix rises is the bird
No, I know
that
that's
goes
what
to
a
the
phoenix
ashes.
is, but-
these birds actually use fire.
No. You know, the one that where they set you off and you've got to fight each other to the death. You know,
Oh,
it's a-
that is a phoenix.
Pokemon.
That is that is the Hunger Games. That is
Hunger
a phoenix.
Games.
That
That's
is a phoenix.
It's
Yeah,
a firebird, though.
that's a phoenix.
Yes, but it goes. She burns
But
up.
these,
Remember?
but these firehawks, they actually use. They're birds that use fire to hunt.
First,
Wow.
don't you want to see a documentary on the
How do they
Firehawks
do
right
that?
now?
Well, they're just
No, they carry fire
burning
and drop
things.
it. Yeah,
So they have to travel far and wide to find a
they've
burning
discovered
twig.
the use of fire. This was what set man apart from the animals in the first place. Was controlling fire.
The Broncos have got no chance then.
If
No,
you've
they
got,
haven't.
if you've got the Redcliffe Dolphins,
Dolphins, I like it.
the Brisbane Firehawks, the Brisbane Bombers, and whatever the fourth one is, we've got to put our might and our momentum.
The Brisbane
behind
Bears,
Firehawks.
because that did so well in the
Brisbane
AFL.
Bears.
So Brisbane Bears would be a great thing. Ipswich Bears, what are the Toowoomba Bears?
What
The
about-
Toowoomba
I've heard some talk
Clydesdales.
about why not the Jets?
Is there a new town in Brisbane?
Well, Feeder Club and Brisbane Jets, and
yeah.
it's.
So Seabold's grovelling, he's desperate, he's clutching at straws, he's making shit up, etc., etc. And then we get Matt Lodge. Matt Lodge, we all remember, of course, that he carried the flag for rugby league in New York City. So finally, not long ago, now redemption. I mean, it's a great story, no doubt about it. But even he was at loss to say anything except, "Where's Gordy? Get Gordy in. He can help us."
Open invitation to Gordy. I mean, you got to really feel for the Broncos. We don't talk much about them on this show, and really, it's a mistake.
It is a
because
mistake.
Can you name, Dennis, the captains of the Brisbane Broncos right now?
The captains.
Yes.
Captains.
Ben Hunt? No, hang on. He's gone.
Darren Lockyer? No.
Yeah, right. Crofton,
Darren Lockyer? Brody Croft's your captain.
Crofton Carrigan, right? They've got virtually no experience
Isn't he
between
a
the two
newbie?
of them. Yeah, brand new.
Yeah, he's
yeah
come
right.
from the
Brand new.
Storms.
So,
And he just walks into captaincy.
Seabold's nominated on potential, and they've
So
gone.
we can't pay you 900,000. We'll give you 8 and we'll give you the captaincy.
That's right.
I suspect they've all sat down, done their homework, done their personality tests, which is how Seabold got the job in the first place.
Correct.
Is by Nutrimetics or whatever is the metrics on the personality test. And they've probably sat them all down and these
He's
guys.
not- he's not dumb.
These guys are look on paper.
Yeah.
So what he's done, he's got on paper. These guys have great heads for rugby league.
He did the
They
Myers.
just can't.
You know what
play.
they say, though, don't you?
They just
You don't win on paper.
You don't win on paper. No.
You don't win
look at the
premierships
Dragons.
in March, well, June. They did the Myers-Briggs, and one of them was ENTJ, and the other one was the other. So they're a beautiful blend. But they go, well, he can't do any PR, so you wheel out Matt Lodge,
Yeah.
who, let's face it,
Yeah.
so far has been a PR
What a
disaster.
salesman.
Yeah. But turns out he's beautifully spoken.
Yes, funny that, isn't it?
and he says, we don't have to wrap up the press conference. I'm prepared to go on. And
Yeah.
he's put out an open call to Gordon Tallis.
We
to
slapped
said-
him down.
Yeah.
Bitch slapped him.
Capriciously.
Yeah.
Because he's still bitter
Yeah.
about what happened with him and Wayne Bennett last century.
Yeah,
It's
right.
ridiculous.
Last century.
I mean,
And
these
he's
young
not
guys
shown-
need our support.
He's not come anywhere near the club,
It's
has he?
not ridiculous.
Is
It's
it-
beautiful.
Who's
It's
looking after
rugby
Payne
league.
Haas right
Isn't
now?
it amazing
to
how-
hold a grudge for
about
a century.
Flagler?
And
To
failure
hold
brings
a
out the fissures
grudge
and the
for
cracks.
over a century.
Payne
That
Guy
is a beautiful
Jr.
thing.
Come on, these kids need our
Former Raider.
support.
I think we're fired up now.
Oh, we're fired
Even
up.
though we're losers, we're fired up. We'll come back in a moment.
But what happens is someone just gets lured in, it's absurd and it's dangerous, and all of a sudden, now it's going to be the topic in every conversation. And now,
That's 5 and 10% of the population. 90%, they're the quiet ones. You don't hear from them.
Fire up the Quiet Australian set restart, and off we go. Hey, I got a brand new app which works out your temperature so that you can go to your local protest or your local cinema. Well, no, not cinema.
Radio station.
Theatre? No, not theatre. No, live gigs. I don't know
Well,
that one.
If you can, we should probably check our temperatures to make sure we're COVID safe before we go on.
Dennis is normal.
Yep.
Checking yours. Uh-oh.
Oh, hang on.
Yes, you were
Try it now.
overheated.
Try it now.
Bing, normal.
See?
Yes. So
Just so you know, there were like 3 roosters or 4 roosters and 6 sharks who turned up to their respective venues.
Right.
And they were above the 37 degrees.
Yes.
And it turns out
37.3.
it's heavy headphones
Yep.
and beanies.
Okay, so the Volandis resurgence, revival of the game, etc., the forging progressively ahead is taking on a new tone this week with crowds coming. We'll get to that in just a moment. Can I, Chris?
Yes.
Can I talk about a much more important issue?
St George, Illawarra?
The notion of a false positive.
Yes.
Now, I don't know if a false positive is better than a negative or worse than a negative. A positive's good. I like positive. A false positive doesn't sound so good at all.
I imagine if you got a report at school and
Yeah.
it says Dennis Carnahan has a positive attitude to his studies.
Okay, you beauty, Dennis.
Right? Your parents would be thrilled.
Okay.
Right?
Never happened.
Never have.
Dennis has got a false positive attitude towards his
Questions
studies.
would be asked.
Happened a lot.
Yeah.
Happened
Incarceration
a
is
lot.
just around the corner.
Can you say that again, Doctor? False positive. Right.
Yeah. What does that mean?
Now, one of our quiet members of our team put forward the idea that Arabella Del Russo,
Yes.
I think, was pranking Josh Reynolds recently. But how good is a prank when you can actually take him back to a station,
Pranking.
a police station?
Pranking's kind of
Dressed up.
pranking's a very big word for what she did to.
Yeah. Or not big enough. No, I want to talk about
Well,
the...
it was profitable because both protagonists who took up the entire 60 Minutes episode the week before last Sunday were alleged to have been paid significant amounts of money to carry out their
Right.
So that's a positive.
contretemps in. Yeah, it's a positive
Did,
result,
did,
right?
did Pete the Paleo get paid as well?
Wow, I didn't see that, but I believe he
Oh, he loves the coin.
did. He tear up?
No, I don't think he
Pete
can. I
the
don't think he's
Paleo-
on his tear ducts.
No, Pete the yeah, he does. What
He does.
He's got some organic onions in
Has
the top
he?
pocket when he needs them. He's just like, oh, yeah, look, that was really
Okay.
a bit-
I wish we had
and-
the time for me to say the only time that Lance Armstrong cried in his recent documentary was talking about disgraced cyclist Jan Ulrich, who he said was the most important person in my life at that time when I went to visit Jan, and he started crying. That's a whole story, but we haven't got time.
boy.
Yeah, Paleo Pete, of course, if by any chance I'm not alive next week, you'll know why. He didn't actually say why, but anyway, what I want to talk about is the journey that Josh Reynolds took. Now imagine, okay, you
Love a journey.
love a journey of a rugby league player. This is a beautiful journey because he flies all the way to Brisbane just to be with his brothers in arms, the team, West Tigers.
Which is actually kind of gutsy because he's not available to go on the field at the moment, is he?
No, he's not.
So there's only a limited number of players who can travel.
Yeah.
So normally it's just a playing group.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Is it just frequent fly points? Is that what he's trying to not
Yeah, what are you saying? He's not available. What was that?
Is he injured?
No, I don't think so. He's just
he's
not.
just-
He's not in the 17, mate.
He's not in the 17.
You know,
So
people
they
are
take-
competing for spots here in the West
Tigerland.
Tigers, to lose to the Titans.
They're allowed 20 players. They're allowed to take 20 players into the stadium.
Like, I don't want to get into. I don't want to whinge about the Tigers. But while we're on the matter, right? You're talking quite rightly because they're talking about bringing in Hawkeye for forward passes after the
File Hawkeye?
Trbojevic disgrace. Though some people try to claim that Garrick didn't put the ball down, but he got it down, did he?
He got it down.
Got it
it
down,
was
right?
a try. It was 100% try. But can we just point out that all the Manly fans who are sooking about this, who are not dealing with
Sooking?
it, they're
They
sooking
fair
about
dinkum
it.
were robbed.
They were robbed, as were the Raiders last year when Manly came to Canberra.
Yeah,
Hang on a second, and the Raiders
again,
and,
six again.
and the Raiders scored a try at the death, and the pass was called forward. And you
Yes.
know who said it was fine? NRL. So the Raiders, had that pass been called good as it was
yes.
supposed to be, would
I'm
have
with
cried.
you.
Now, what happened? Adam Fanua-Blake turned to the Raiders crowd, knowing full well that they should have lost, and went. Gave the bubby eyes to the Raiders
Bubby
fans.
eyes. What
So
do you want to do?
Oh, that was
Bubby
Fanua
eyes?
Blake, right? But
that was Fanua-Blake. So that was what that happened. So now.
weren't you crucified by one of the Katoas once on a forward pass as well? I mean, Canberra suffered
Oh,
a bit.
yeah.
haven't they?
And two
plenty of
wrongs don't
times.
make a
Plenty
right.
of
Haven't you
times.
heard that one?
And then against the Sharks 2 years ago, when the ball was.
Can we just put him in the bin for a while?
Sorry, you said not to go aside.
Okay.
On the side.
So getting back to my aside. So
He wasn't playing because he's not good enough. So
Yeah,
that's sad
correct.
in
But
itself.
correct.
He's in the 20.
yeah, but
He's
That's
in
not
the
bad.
20,
Gets
so
a
he's
free,
available.
Gets a free flight.
right.
In-flight-
you know,
in-flight
they're the
food.
ones that sit in the bus outside the clean zone. If someone does the hammy in the warm up, they tap on the window
Yep.
and then they come in.
Yeah.
So they're not actually in the ground.
So they're
that in
dirty.
itself, the
So they
journey-
are allowed an extended
Talk
squad
about a
at the
journey
moment.
where you don't get to the ultimate destination.
Yeah,
that's,
right.
That's when you're number 19 on the list, right?
So he nearly missed a couple of destinations on the evening.
Correct. I just do want to say, though, they're talking about bringing in Hawkeye technology for
Yeah.
the forward passes. We've seen it in the cricket. It doesn't work. No. I mean, your idea, which is getting more currency, the Ferris GPS and the ball.
Yes.
If they're doing it for forward passes, surely they can determine whether the ball has
And-
broken the 10-metre plane on the short kickoff, because Joey Leilua has blown up the Lux on Instagram, and I stand with Joey Leilua on this issue.
You two, you got access to Graham or what? I'm not offering any excuse.
Well, that's
to the Dragons.
That's because we're in the game.
I'm blaming Badger.
We led with 3 minutes to go. We're in the game. You led 2-0, and that was it.
Oh, the litany of things that went against us, Chris. I don't even know where to start. But let me just tell you this. West Tigers,
Yes.
they go up there. What team did you play?
Gold Coast Titans, Suncorp Stadium.
Who were the worst team in the comp until this week?
Arguably still. No, in fact, I was going to say arguably still are, but they're not.
Now they're third worst.
Yeah, that's right.
Anyway, they were easy beats, generally speaking, and you were riding it high. And so poor old Josh Reynolds doesn't get a game. Goes with the team, bit of support. The journey goes Brisbane Airport. Would have taken a little while to get to Brisbane Airport. Fly to Sydney Airport because they couldn't go to Bankstown Airport because of the weather. Had to get out of Sydney. Had to get a bus. Go down to Campbelltown to pick up his Mercedes.
Yes.
Can I say it again? His Mercedes.
What? He drives a Mercedes, does he?
Apparently he drives a Mercedes. So
He's chosen that just out of all the cars, he's chosen
the
that
press
one.
definitely pinpointed, focused on that one. They were very, very like.
There's such a huge subtext there, isn't there?
Yes, there is.
It's sort of saying
He's not really
everything's
working class.
everything having sort of ridden on the back of rugby league as a return to normalcy and selling papers and whatever. Now they're kicking it when it's down.
Yes.
By inferring that the working person's game
is no longer
is actually run by people who are
driving
in opulence.
Mercedes.
Yeah.
No, 20-year-old model. This is a brand new model, apparently.
Could be 30
late
years
model.
old.
Yes, could be.
Could have cost him 10 grand.
Gets in the Mercedes and he's heading through Carringbar and
President Avenue.
said police, apparently, allegedly,
Yep.
President Avenue,
Yes.
pulled him over, found out that he had an expired license. So it wasn't like he'd done anything wrong. He just forgot.
Yeah, it wasn't a cancelled license. And this happens a lot now because you don't get notifications. They used to notify you. You used to get dozens
There's
of
something sneaky
notifications.
about that,
Now
isn't
there's
there?
some little quiet
Yeah.
MyGov message or something. This
Yeah.
is you have to go through miles of stuff to find it. Unless you sit and check it manually,
Yes.
regularly,
Yes.
you don't know it's
This
expired.
happened to me.
There's no notification.
Yeah, it's exactly it happened. It just
My car registration expired. I'm driving along, not in a Mercedes. I
No,
hasten
no.
hasten to add. I'm driving along.
you wouldn't
don't
drive something
wait.
so common, would you, Chris?
I'm driving along a major artery and I'm pulled over
Yeah.
and my registration expired and I had moved houses and I'd even gone in and renewed my driver's license,
But you didn't get notified.
but didn't pass on to the registration notification.
Should be an automatic notification on
Yeah.
your phone number or on your
And the
email.
law says it's actually the responsibility of the driver to
course
maintain
they
the
do.
awareness of the date.
If they're taking your money, why would they bother
Oh,
making
boy.
the effort?
And the car was not impounded, but I had to park it on the side of the road.
So the man
and I
is-
had to cease driving it.
So the man has come down hard on Josh Reynolds here.
Yes.
First of all, they picked him up for that. He wasn't notified. And then they go, well, we better do a test. I mean, it wasn't a random breath test, but they
Two
did
tests?
Two tests.
Booze?
Booze, negative. No drinking.
No.
So he'd been on the plane with his West Tigers
No,
mates.
there's no way that Madge, who's blowing up the Lux, and apparently you're telling me is dropping Benji Marshall as we speak. There was no post.
It's not me telling you that. It's him telling you
There
that.
was no post-game beer.
No.
What is it, by the way?
No celebration.
Is it like when the airline strike was on in the later? Is it a Hercules? Is that what they're? Is that the team plane? Is that what they're flying in? Yeah. Right. The charter plane, whatever it
I
is.
don't know.
there's-
We'll have to find that out.
Yeah.
I'll be
Sultan of
I'll be
Brunei's
guessing a
jet.
GC10 or
But
a
you and I would both go,
707.
look, after a hard day's not working, but travelling, look, a glass of wine would be great, thanks. I'm just going to go to bed when I get home.
This is Madge, though. He's such a disciplinarian, as we
He
know.
is, isn't he?
Well, I mean, we went to have breakfast
Hard.
with him.
No drink, no grog,
No coffee.
no meth.
No
nothing.
juice.
No.
Right. No, like the bacon and egg rolls without the roll, or
Oh,
the bacon
mate.
and eggs. I mean, was that tough?
And hard rolls, tough
Oh,
rolls.
my goodness.
And the bacon, my teeth were just trying to get through the damn
Anyway,
things.
so Josh has sailed through the
Sailed
alcohol
through
test.
all of that, yeah. So then
sobriety,
he gets
no
a
worries.
second test, and this is when this false positive. Please explain.
Dennis, would you like to?
This happens a lot with medical tests. It happens a lot with the COVID tests.
Yeah,
It's very common. It's about 10%.
So
We'll get
they're
a false
incorrect.
positive. Yeah, it just
We assume.
the tests are very delicate.
Yeah. You can eat a kebab and apparently you go positive.
Plenty of stuff.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
plenty of stuff.
Have you had the COVID
Chili.
test?
I haven't had the COVID
Right.
test. I'm
So
dreading it.
Well, what would happen if you had it and then it comes up as a message on the phone, right? And what if you get the results and they go, Mr. Carnahan, your results are positive?
Yep.
And you'd be going, well, is that a good thing or not? Like,
Well,
am I positive for COVID or is it? No,
Is
it's
it
good news.
Yes, yes.
It's positive. You don't
Well,
have it.
there was that case just during the week, which a very sad case. A gentleman who was 30 in Queensland who died, and they said he's the youngest
Yes.
person to die of COVID. Turns
Yes.
out it was actually he had a false positive. He
Yes.
didn't have COVID-19.
Yes.
So this is it. It's a medical test. There's a degree of what do you call it, inaccuracy. There's a plus or minus, whatever.
The grey area.
And so that's why they did second test and then a
We're
third
waiting on
test.
results.
No, it came back negative.
No, so he gets the.
Oh, he's got the second test already.
So the first test, which suggested Class A's, is I think your liquor strip.
Yeah,
You know?
Class A. What's that? Sounds scary.
Yeah.
Is that the Mercedes?
It's a particular typical type of pharmaceutical, Stephen. I'm surprised you as a DJ
Never heard
of
of
many
it.
decades
Never heard
is
of it.
unaware of the vernacular.
So we're talking illicit stuff here.
The stuff they make
High
at the
range.
Old Tigers Club.
A class.
Let's just say ease and whiz. How's that sound? And so under those circumstances, because of the inaccuracies, so let's face it, they're just, I don't know, they're mass producing these test strips somewhere. You go back.
What do they care?
You go back to the station, which is added to the journey.
The Journey, Sutherland Police Station, exactly.
Which is the other direction from where he was going, probably. And they do what's called an oral fluid test. So I guess a little bit like if you're doing a urine test, and it might be, what happens if you get a dry mouth?
Yeah.
Where you're sort of, I don't know, how do they
That's
work?
what Hannah Gatsby talked about,
Do they
right?
give you a lozenge?
Don't start.
Come on, Stephen.
That's right.
They give you a lozenge to juice up, and you produce enough spit, I assume,
Yeah.
and that has come back negative.
Yes.
Now, Buzz Rothfield.
Ah, Buzz. Now we're
Speaking
talking
of
we're
journeys.
talking about heat tests to get you into. Can they not do like ethical and also IQ tests to get you into the studios at Fox Sport? Buzz, now there's another feud, right? As if he hasn't got enough and Rugby League hasn't got enough. Didn't he say he wants to see me outside the shed at 8 o'clock the next morning?
No. I think Josh said he's having to talk to Buzz at 8 o'clock at the presser in Concord the next morning. I think.
Yeah,
It is fascinating how this all broke. This all broke just before the start of your game.
Thank Christ.
And it went all over like it was every media outlet was like, oh no, and even Fire Up's Twitter feed was Josh Reynolds, more to come.
I didn't bite into it.
And then I heard on ABC Andrew Moore reading it out and then going, oh, wait a second, it's from Buzz Rothfield. If I'd known that, I wouldn't have read it because it's probably wrong or blown up.
So
So there's
Isn't
another.
he the chief writer at News Corp, Rugby League?
he's just the editor at large, right?
Editor at
large.
They won't let him anywhere near
And
the
his
joint.
fiction is large.
Yeah. And so Reynolds, of course, says, so the false positive, he's come back with a negative on the oral fluid test, and he's been let go without charges. Now, Buzz has added this little coda that suggested that they normally what they do is they send... He sounds like Seabold, really, doesn't he?
Is Buzz Seabold's
Impression,
dad?
it's very good.
They send the test for checking, right? Now, I think he might be confused with the Bronson Cherry B sample that's also being
Yes.
tested today.
Yes.
So I think this is the trouble. You got to get your sources right. You got to get your stories right.
Get your facts right, yeah?
But
oh my
look,
God.
Josh, who I've had the pleasure of meeting, and I think has had a really rough run. I think the hope is here that this is just an unfortunate little addendum.
But it's almost nothing. That's the thing. It is like a person gets pulled over. Turns out, like you said, license has expired. Nothing wrong. Just a simple oversight.
It's a week of caring then, isn't it? I care for Mary. I care for Josh.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do I care for Buzz?
Well,
Are you prepared to march? Are you prepared to march
I'm
for
prepared
Buzz?
to march for these
Are you
fellas.
prepared
March
to
for
march
Buzz.
for Josh.
I'm telling you,
march for Josh.
based on what
Buzz
I've
matters.
based on what I've
March for Mary.
March for Mary.
based on what I've experienced in the last 2 weeks, I feel that we are moving into a kind of gentler world, and I am prepared to have 6 to his new throwdowns to care for Buzz.
We'll be back in a moment.
But I'll never forget those 2 words. The trainer looked at me, and you're a bit dazed, and and I felt for my nose, and it's not there. And he looked at me, and he went, "Oh shit, that's not what you want to hear from the trainer."
Quite a strange. And why is it that, look, I think I'm pulling my weight here. I think you're pulling. Dennis, where is that guitar? What's happening with your songwriting? What is going on here?
I've been too busy.
Been too busy. He's
All work and
he's
no
the only
play
one
makes
working.
Dennis a
Are you-
dull boy.
Are you working, Chris, in this
Yeah, I've been
Post-COVID.
very fortunate. I've been
COVID's gone now.
fully employed.
You
Well, it
know
has in
that-
New Zealand.
It has in New Zealand. They've got crowds back at the rugby.
Now,
That's absurd.
Volandis, what
Seriously.
the hell's going on here?
I,
If they can go out and march in every city around the country, how come we haven't got rugby league back on full this week?
I mean, our job is to shine a harsh light on the prism that is rugby league and call it as we see it.
As we see it.
And the apologist for PVL, who I would love to be a guest on this show, and I don't know how Dennis got out of explaining why he hasn't writing songs. I think he's got writer's block, by the way.
Writer's block, it
Writer's
happens,
block.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
terrible.
Maybe it happened to Paul McCartney at one point.
Some would say
take the
simple minds never got over it. But the apologist for Volandis and the beatification, canonisation, ... St. Peter, etc., etc. Can I just simply itemise the issues I have with him right now?
Is this to do with his soul?
Well,
Is he selling it?
You have issues with PVL.
I've got many issues.
Let's
with
hear
PVL.
them.
Okay, let's go.
Can you put him in dot points?
But can I just say, Peter Volandis,
Straight down the barrel.
I'm a big fan of the Greek classics, the Olympics,
Yep.
language, democracy.
My big fat Greek wedding.
What about the
Greek
Pantheon?
food?
You like the Pantheon?
I love the Pantheon.
Is
All
it
those
the
gods.
Or the
Parthenon?
Parthenon.
No, I mean the pantheon, like all the gods.
Oh, the
All
gods.
many gods. There are many
yeah.
gods.
The myriad range.
I'm a big Artemis guy.
And your family. Carry on, Chris.
The number of blowouts we've had so far, and the super coaches can't agree. Robbo and Des say it's the set restarts. Right? Madge has said a lot of teams aren't fit. I think he said that before we went down to the Titans. 6 lead changes in 16 games total.
Wow.
So there are one of the great rugby league expressions that absolutely defines the game is a seesaw affair.
Yeah.
Well, not under Volandi's watch.
No. It's
Well, there's been 2 games where the first try scorer has then gone ahead and lost.
Right.
That was your game
Yep.
and the Manly Parramatta game
two.
because Parramatta scored first and then Manly won according to Des.
Yes.
Des has said that
That's
was a
right.
great
Yeah,
win for
we
the
won
boys.
that game.
Yep.
Right.
I agree with him.
So,
Yep.
so basically, whoever scores first, well, with the exception of St George Illawarra versus Canterbury and the Tigers, it's over. Dwindling TV
Oh, no,
audiences.
No, it scores a try because St George
Try, sorry,
hasn't
yes,
actually
yeah.
scored a try since.
Took the
Dwindling,
Bennett option. 2 points. The lazy option.
dwindling TV audiences.
Yeah.
Right.
What? Suddenly we've lost the audience.
Yeah, because
What about America?
Because Matt Lodge hasn't got time to continue to pump up the American viewership because
That
he's
mug.
stuck apologising for the Broncos.
Yeah.
Blatant forward passes.
Yeah.
I mean, Joey Leilua blowing up on social media for the inability of the rugby league to understand what the 10-metre plane actually looks like.
I could say to you that Vlandis came in and did what he had to do, and it's up to you guys now.
Oh, but he said that. This is what really annoys me, Dennis and Stephen, is the Volandis goes, I'm now the he also
Same voice.
I don't think rugby. I don't think he sounds like Seabold. I mean, I came into the game and look, if there's a crisis, you'll see me. But if there's no crisis, you won't see me. It's
a good voice, Chris.
Well, thank you. And of course there was famously the rugby league crisis, right? So in comes Volandis. Now one would argue the game is unchanged but back. It's no more entertaining, but it's back.
Yeah.
Crowds are coming in limited.
Chooks are
sets.
winning.
Chooks are winning.
Bad.
Melbourne's going great.
Yeah.
Etc. St
No
George
good.
are awful.
No good.
It's all making sense. Now, has he disappeared? Quite the contrary. He's being interviewed on every rugby league show that's going. He's got a regular spot now with Ben Fordham,
Chris.
which is not about rugby league. It's about social issues.
And he's got Rosehill up and running.
Can I just
Can I just say racing perhaps
Is
now...
he running for Eden Monero?
Well, there's all sorts. There's all sorts of talk about Volandis in his political career, and the rest of us.
We've established earlier he's quite good friends. Armenian parents, Greek parents. He's his son of immigrants. Gladys. Imagine that. He's after
just-
Gladys's job.
Have you finished bagging him?
He's just like the rest of us. He's just,
Okay. Now, he has got okay, so we've lost to the Kiwis. They are naturally...
Well, that's it. That's the
They're
win,
more
isn't it?
progressive than we are, Chris. You know that.
They always have been.
Yeah,
They always have been.
That, with the exception of travel bans, New Zealand is on full operation this weekend, including
And what code?
rugby union.
Rugby union.
He's allowed rugby union and New Zealand to beat us.
Wow.
And still,
Do we
they're
care?
singing his praises.
We don't care.
Not at all.
No. Don't care. Rugby union.
No one's noticing.
No one's noticing anyway.
It's just me. I'm just a nerd.
Exactly.
Right? So
That's
the
because you're a
average
North Shore
person.
private school boy,
But
so
Chris-
you know what rugby is. Who cares about rugby?
Peter,
Yes.
he's ahead of you. He's ahead of your curve. He's come up with another idea. It's a cabal of continentals.
Ah.
And he says, if you get me, Gladys Berejiklian, Armenian, of heritage similar to myself, but just different. I don't know if the Armenians and the Greeks have fought each other. I'm assuming they have. Or the Armenians probably took over the Greeks at some point, like everybody else did.
Phew, you got me there.
And then you've got Harry Triguboff, and we had to look it up. Born in China. Wow. I said, how's he born in China? And you said?
By being born in China.
He's born in China,
That's
yeah.
right. Yeah, that's how he's Chinese. He's
That we
born
know.
in China.
Russian Jewish.
Son of Russian Jews. And
We can broadly say continental.
so if we look at the socio-economic history of Australia, I mean, talk about riding on the sheep's back,
Immigrants.
minerals out of the ground.
Chinese.
European immigration in the middle of last century
Chris,
was key to us.
I'm going to defend my background. I don't know about yours, Dennis. The Irish built the bloody place.
Is that right?
Yeah, Irish labour, cheap labour.
Right.
From day one.
Certainly explains the architecture in Melbourne. And
No, not Melbourne, Sydney. That's the difference.
well, but then you get that influx, and there a weird mob ... in the 50s.
The Greeks, yes.
Volandis has said with his mini Bank West idea, the Matrushka doll stadiums, as I describe them.
Yeah.
Gladys, daughter of Armenian migrants. I'm the son of Greek immigrants. We have similar backgrounds. Now, I'm not a
So
great...
they're coming together. That,
I'm not a great student of political history, but I'm sure the Armenians and the Greeks got it on at some stage.
Yes.
But Triggerboff comes on board
You're
because...
suggesting something about Gladys and...
No, as
Yeah.
in like the warring factions.
Oh, for war.
Got the war on, yeah.
Well, okay, so they're holding hands across the water now.
Well,
Building bridges,
Glad-
making love, not war.
Gladys, who apparently is and again, we just send our very best to Mr. Greenberg and his extended
Oh,
family.
not Gladys. Oh.
She's always apparently gone better with Greenberg than Volandis, apparently. Right? But Volandis has reached out to her. And so Harry has come in and said the other code down south owns the stadium.
Yeah.
I think it's a great idea.
Hang on. Gladys is Premier.
Yes?
Peter runs the Rugby League.
Prime
Harry
Minister.
builds buildings.
Yes.
Home units primarily.
Correct.
Put the three together. We're talking like what's been done before around the world, where you get a hotel and maybe a railway station and maybe, if you're lucky, some great shopping
You're talking
arcade.
about Panthers.
Yeah, maybe get Westville involved, and
You
build
get
these
a
little-
water skiing park as well, and water golf driving
Yeah,
range. You got
we-
Panthers World of Entertainment everywhere.
everywhere, and you can live
Except
there.
you've
you
got
get
apartments as well.
a balcony view.
And this is where it'll be crucial to have those mini Bank Wests, that you've got the apartments, towers all
Yes,
around them.
yes.
You'd have to be able to cover the stadium.
Yes.
So those bludgers who bought the condos
And
won't be able
Gladys
to
to
look
take
down
away
for
the
nothing.
noise pollution act, so it doesn't affect anybody's noise.
Oh yeah.
Hang on, I would have...
As long as there's no live bands or venues or festivals.
there'll be-
No. There will be no festivals.
There will be music at
There
footy.
will be no festivals though.
Don't call
no
it a
music
festival.
festivals.
Call it music at footy.
There'll be choppers, just like there were at the SCG
Yes,
last year.
yes.
There'll be choppers to make sure there's no music festivals.
We're gonna get-
that was just such a beautiful image as we were leaving the Roosters and the
Yes.
Storms, and there were choppers chasing us. And I'm going, 2019, how good. But I think you're wrong, Dennis. I think part of the sell, if Harry's on board, because they're trying to do this at Cronulla, and let's face it, it's a basket case. The only reason that you won't get taken over by Cronulla, because you should be, is that they're incapable of doing it. Right? You bring in Triggerboff, and the key word here is mini. So he's not saying I'm a Lend Lease or a Balderstone Hornibrook or something like that.
Yes, right.
He says I build apartment buildings.
Yeah.
So what he does is he's actually extending the concept of the apartment building to include the playing area. Of
course.
And off
Include the playing area.
yeah, that's part
Not
of,
just the viewing area.
yeah. So he'll be selling off the plan, and you'll be buying the apartment with all the fixtures and the ability to watch the game.
Yeah.
Right.
You can use it to train yourself during the week.
Surely you can't take your dog for a walk because
Your
you're not
dog?
cleaning up after
I
yourself.
don't see why not.
What's
It's
that?
business. That's how they built
Harold
this.
Park.
Well, I
Prime
think
example.
Wasn't it you who suggested that in order to give it the right feel,
Yes.
say Campbelltown, and to sort of recognise our heritage, they'll actually just physically sever the forum at Leichhardt.
Yes, move
and
it
just
over.
Get a few helicopter
Yeah.
transport and just drop that in.
Put a Dan Murphy's in there.
That's right.
Yeah.
Could they put a racetrack around the outside?
Wow,
Racetrack,
now you're
So
talking.
you've got a racetrack, you've got a footy field, you've got
Yeah.
apartments all around
Wow,
it.
yeah.
Well, I'll buy it off the plan.
the
I'll take one off the plan,
Now-
please.
All of them.
How many? In a row.
Yeah, just give me the lot. And Airbnb get involved, wouldn't they? Would they?
Are Airbnb still a thing after COVID? Like hot desking is gone?
Yeah, they've been hit hard.
Are
haven't
you
they?
able to Airbnb still?
I've got no idea.
No idea.
It's going to be tough.
Disrupt doors.
Who's looking? Now, I imagine there'll be plenty of corporate boxes.
Here's an interesting point, right? Because we all know that the limited sense of the gatherings allowed in our state at the moment will actually accommodate people in a rugby league ground. And so they're opening the doors in a limited sense
This weekend.
Yeah.
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 But the corporate, you're saying the corporate's not just in the boxes, but outside as well? Or both?
Well, some
You
of the
don't know.
corporates have outside areas.
Yes, like yours, Chris.
I actually think they don't know
Oh,
yet.
I'm in now.
I don't think they've worked out yet exactly how it's going
Right.
to work.
Okay.
This is part of the Volandis Apollo thing that you I don't want to say make it up as you go along, but here's the deadline of when it has to. They're trying to work it out now. There's a lot of protocols we work through. There's actually the 20 people working there
Look,
now
to
that have
build-
cut down the 400 staff. Working very hard.
And to build 4 mini Bank West is quite an achievement in the next 6 months or
So
3 months.
By 1st of July.
By 1st of July. That's pretty amazing. If
It's
he can do it,
incredible
what's
job. Well,
Sydney football
If
stadium?
there's anyone who
Chinese
can, it's
just-
St. Peter Volandis, because I stand with Peter Volandis. I support what he
else?
does.
Hang on,
What's
didn't
wrong-
the Chinese just build like 30 hospitals in the space of 3 months?
No more.
Well,
on the Chinese.
But hang
Hang
on
on.
a second. Where was Triggerboff born?
China.
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 He's a conduit for the Chinese.
Yeah.
He's going to build them.
Okay.
He's going to build the mini
Big-
Bank West ready for
He's
July
got a
1.
tunnel underneath. They just bring in the labour, bring in the parts, away they
Gladys
go.
loves a tunnel. They've got these tunnels. They've got these diggers. It's fantastic.
And as you know, there's no bigger supporter of Peter Volandis than me. And if he can pull this off...
No
this,
bigger,
No
no.
bigger. This weekend, because you've got a problem here, whether it's like approximately 300 at Campbelltown up to 500 at the other stadiums that they're allowing,
Yeah.
who gets in, right? First of all, already there's consternation because
Yeah.
South have announced Russell Crowe.
He gets in.
He gets in, right?
What about
Cronulla-
his mates?
Well, Cronulla,
Yeah.
who are they saying get in? ScoMo.
Yeah.
Like, he should be at the back of the bus, right?
So you think they need a draw bitch?
It's a working person's game,
Yeah.
and they need door bitches.
Yeah.
Who would be the
Well,
ideal rugby league
and
door
you
bitch?
remember in classic, you've been to Studio 54 like I did. of
You know,
course.
you're in, you're
Yeah.
in, you're not in.
And they pick colour.
But I'm a member. Sorry, it's
doesn't
private
matter.
function.
Yeah.
Private function.
Oh,
mate.
yeah.
But
Private
Chris,
function. Yeah.
you might have also forgotten, Dennis and Chris, that they're bringing in drones to disinfect the masses
That's
at
right.
the footy.
So you're going to get drenched before you go in.
So you wanna
They
be
huddle
the-
you like sheep.
You want
Into
There's a dip.
They dip
To
you.
run. Yeah, to run
So
through
you
the
get
dip.
through the filter. So here's my tip: if you want to get into the game on the weekend,
Yeah.
turn up with a bunch of girls, right? Because 8 blokes, you're not getting in.
Surely
fellas.
And make sure you got a collared shirt.
Get a
and covered
collared shirt
shoes.
on.
Yeah.
Covered
And if
shoes.
you once you're through the door, bitch, you're into the race or whatever it is. You're going to get drenched.
You're gonna get
the
drenched.
drones are complete
Is
disinfectant.
this not something that the AFL would have thought about?
Just
Drenching
you got to put that.
the leagueies?
They'll put the anti-flea stuff.
But at least you're clean.
Yeah.
So you're
fresh
clean,
out.
you're disinfected, you're in, but then you don't get to sit with your mates, which I think is probably.
Can you take your clothes off?
Anti-ra-
Get a full proper wash?
Well, I think that's optional. I mean, I think
On telly?
I actually think that they've addressed the fan in the stand issue,
yeah.
and they're now getting the crowd in. As I understand it, they're getting the people in, but they do have to be naked.
Yes.
So that won't be. It's not for the cameras yet.
Think of
It's
the
just-
ratings.
It's just COVID safe.
Because we did talk about streaking coming back in.
That's right.
Yeah, no
Bring it
longer
back.
banned, no $5,000 fine.
They got to get the crowd COVID safe and into the ground, getting them dressed and able to be on camera. That's July 1, I think.
Yep.
So you can use your mate, your cardboard cutout mate, is to cover you up if the cameras come in. Right?
Hide behind
In
it.
fact, that's what it is. You get in, but you've got to be naked for health reasons.
Yeah.
But you do have a modesty fan
Made
in the
of plastic,
stand
of course.
that can sit in front of you.
Yeah, that's right, of course. Oh, dear, oh dear. I think that's it for Fire Up. Anything else to offer, boys?
Look, I'm just excited by the fact that as someone involved with the Tigers, I fully expect to be invited to Campbelltown Stadium this weekand.
Yeah.
And if I do, everything that is wrong with the game is me being invited to Campbelltown Stadium this weekend.
I don't know where to start with what's wrong with the game at the moment. George supporter. Anybody to thank, Chris? Would you like to do any official notifications right now?
No, I just want to thank the Diamantina Media Network for having us in, because it's been so much fun for us to be able to interact in this way in these difficult times, Stephen.
Yes.
And a big shout out to FBI Radio, because we're certainly keen to be back there soon doing the live stuff as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Friday mornings, if we can do it, we'll wait and see. Thank you very much.
Cheers.
Fire up.
Cause I'm all fired up and lonesome. I got a chip on my shoulder, and I'm acting just a little too tough.